Hey, this is Keith from RisingStronger.com. In this video, we're going to talk about why proper breathing is the foundation for better mental and physical health. So this is going to be part one of a two-part video series. In this video, we'll talk about why proper breathing is so important and why it's worth your time and effort to relearn how to do it and to notice, what it means to breathe in properly. And then in part two, we'll talk about how to go about relearning to breathe properly. And there are really three main reasons that I want to talk about in this video. There's a lot of reasons why breathing is important for our mental health and our physical health. But there are three main reasons I want to talk about in this video. The first is to understand the impact that breathing has on our nervous system. So if you're unfamiliar with the nervous system, we have two branches of our autonomic nervous system. Our sympathetic, which is our fight or flight, stressed out, worked up, kind of tense, guarded state. And then we have our parasympathetic, which is our rest, relax, regenerate, detoxify, digest state or branch. And the big thing to understand is that most of us in this world are kind of chronically stuck in a fight or flight, stressed out state. And the impact that this has on our health overall, but let's say specifically here, our mental health, is really significant. And number two, we'll kind of touch more on why, but this can be a big contributor as to why we feel anxious a lot of the time, why we get so stressed out, why we feel depressed or why we get depressed. And learning how to regulate our nervous system using breathing, because our breath is one of the ways that we can go about regulating our nervous system, that can shift us out of this state and help us to get into this place where we can relax, where we can get better sleep, where we can digest our food and our body can go about its normal process. So there's a time and a place for both. We definitely need to be able to shift back and forth. Again, though, it's that most of us are stuck over here, and it has a very significant impact on our mental health, especially when we've been here, most of us, for a significant portion of our lives. The second point, which ties into number one, is that breathing impacts pretty much anything else that we could do to try to improve our mental health. So let's say you are familiar with the idea that what you eat significantly impacts your mental health. So you try to eat high quality whole food. Even if you're eating the highest quality foods, maybe you're even taking high quality targeted supplements, it's not just about what we put in our mouth and swallow. It's about what our body has the ability to assimilate and take in and use. And much of our body's ability to do that is based on, are we in a sympathetic or parasympathetic state? So we're in this rest, digest, relax state. Our body's going to receive that food and be able to break it down a lot better and use those nutrients that are so important for our mental health. They're so important for overcoming states like depression, for improving symptoms of anxiety. And so not only is our state very important, is the fact that if we are in a stressed out state, our body's really just going to struggle to digest and maybe even put it off because it believes it has greater threats to worry about, more immediate threats to worry about. But oxygen also oxygizes, which means to break down. So when we take in food, it is our breathing and our ability to breathe properly that plays a big role in our food being able to be broken down. So it really impacts our digestion, which very much impacts our mental health. If you take sleep as something that's unbelievably critical for mental health, something that most of us may not, we may not think about with sleep, is that it's not just about the quantity of sleep that we get. It's not just about getting enough hours, though that is important. It's also about the quality, how restful the sleep is. Can we get into those deeper stages of regenerative sleep that are so critical for our brain and our body? If you talk about exercise, movement, physical training, another thing that is so important for our mental health. When we understand how to breathe properly before, during, and after working out, it's not only going to help us to get more out of the workout, to have more energy, to have a longer strength endurance, to keep going, to get in the workout that maybe we want to, but working out is a stressor. It is something that takes a toll on our system, and the more that we can dampen that stress response, the better. The better we're going to recover, the better, again, we're going to be able to keep going throughout the workout. And it's our breathing that can really help to regulate that, to not overtax our system. So these are just a few examples of things that are all really important if you're struggling with anxiety or depression, to factor in food, sleep, exercise. There's a number of lifestyle factors that in our modern world really underlie a lot of the rise in mental health issues we see. But it's our breathing that kind of ties it all together and is really the foundational place to start. The third reason why breathing is so important is that it's always right here, right now. Our mind tends to wander, and it's very tough to even change this at all, but our mind tends to wander into the future and worry about what's going to happen. It tends to wander back in the past and ruminate over things that maybe we could have done differently or wish were different. But our breath is always in this present moment. So anytime that we're focused, anytime we're bringing our attention to our breath, we can't be in the future, we can't be in the past. We're paying attention to the here and now. And that has a very powerful impact on our state of mind and body. And it's not that we can do that at all times. It's very, very difficult, near impossible to be able to do that at all times. But even just getting into the practice of catching ourselves wandering and coming back to check in with our breath is going to have a big impact. And the way that we breathe, and again, we'll get into more of what proper and improper breathing looks like in part 2, but the way that we breathe is going to also have it's a vicious cycle in some ways. It's going to have an impact on what our thoughts are like. When our breathing is dysregulated, we're going to be more anxious. We're going to feel, more of that rumination and worry. When our breathing is regulated, it's sending signals to our brain to just ease up, that everything is okay. So it has an effect in both directions. And one of the ways to improve, our state of mind is to improve and regulate our breathing. So I do want to emphasize before I end this video that it is a practice. It's not something that you're just going to, hear this and then, watch something on how to do it properly and it's going to be fixed. It's something that most of us have been doing improperly for a majority of our lives, and it takes being intentional and just working it into our day-to-day lives to correct it. And it's not something, thankfully, it doesn't cost any money. It doesn't require you to do anything differently. You can practice proper breathing while you're driving, while you're sitting at work, while you're talking to other people, while you're eating, while you're getting ready for bed or laying in bed or when you wake up. These are all the important places to do it. And again, it takes practice to make it a habit long term, but just the act of starting to do it can have a significant impact on your state of mind and body, your energy, your, how calm you are, overcoming undesired, states, depression, excess anxiety, things like that. So I invite you to come check out part 2. I'm going to talk about how to breathe properly and what improper breathing looks like, and give you some techniques to take away. Thanks for watching.